Hello, everyone, and welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Ambrosius, and I am joined today by my special guest, Chris Liss of RotoWire.com. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Greg. How about yourself?
I told you I'm doing terrible because the Packers lost on Saturday, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Actually, the last time I saw you physically was in New York City in 2019 at the trade conference. I bought all the beers the last time I saw you, so you still owe me, right?
No problem. Next time I see you, Greg. That is the last time I said. Really, it's been that long.
Course. COVID came in March of 2020. That
Yeah,
was
we never
June
went.
of,
Yeah, I was supposed to
yeah,
go. Right, I was supposed to go to New York March of 2020, and I never did.
yeah.
So
And
yeah,
you didn't come last year either, 21.
I did
So,
not know.
all right. So let's set the stage here. You're in Portugal, living the good life. I'm in
Mhm,
Iola, Wisconsin, freezing my ass off. It's -6 this morning when I
mhm.
came here. Who has the better life right now?
I have to go with me, Greg. I know you have a nice lake house. I think you showed me some pictures. I know it's
Yep.
pretty nice, and I would live in cold. Actually, it's Heather who wouldn't do it. She would never do
Yep.
Wisconsin. I'd have no problem with it. And it's chilly here. It's like 51 in the morning, and we don't have heat on in the house. It's a little chilly at 51. But yeah, no, it's nice out here, and we're trying to get some house built. But one thing about Portugal that's worse than the U.S. is like everything takes like years to do anything,
Yeah.
and so we'll see if that ever happens.
Yeah, my cottage is very nice in the summer, but it's frozen over right now. I can tell you that. But what the hell? I've always said my umbilical cord is attached to Lambeau Field. That's why I can't leave here. Other than that, I would be gone if it wasn't for the Packers. So let's
You
not
just
get
need, you
political.
just need, you just need, yeah, you just need experiences like you had on Saturday. You just can't say no to them. The Giants have done it to you twice. It happened
Been
against the
there both
49ers
times.
4 times. I mean,
Yep,
this is I don't know, man. And I have to say, like, I thought this team had a chance. I
oh,
thought this team was
absolutely,
actually good. The
absolutely.
defense was good, but you don't want to talk about it. You didn't bring me on to talk about the Packers. That's why we bring you on, and you sent Tom last week to take the heat
I couldn't
instead.
take it. I couldn't talk to you yesterday. I
Yeah,
couldn't talk
yeah.
to you. All right, let's just talk. So when did you move to Portugal, and why did you move to Portugal with your family?
It was a total accident. In 2015, we did a little Europe vacation for 2 weeks, and we went to
Hmm.
Berlin and London and Paris. And we really liked Berlin. We thought it was cool. And Heather, who lived in Argentina for 6 years and just is adventurous, I wouldn't have got off the couch in LA for my whole life probably. I'm lazy. I'm a creature of habit. So she said, "Are you cool with living abroad for a year? Let's try to live in Berlin for a year." And I was like, "Well, I don't know if XM can do it." She's like, "Just ask XM." I knew I could do it, with the rest of my job.
Yeah.
And at the time, Matt Deutsch, who's not an XM anymore, he said, "Yeah, there's people in the UK doing it. I don't see why not." And then once Heather got the green light, suddenly she's looking online. And next thing I know, like, we're at the consulate meeting with the German consulate, and they're like, "Yeah, no problem." Well, we get there in 2016 in the summer. Before we get there, like 3 months before, we've rented out our apartment for the next year. I mean, our house for the next year in
Yeah.
LA. And the German consulate says, "Bad news, they didn't give you the visa." And I don't probably a lot of you guys know if you're a U.S. citizen, you get 3 months in Europe in the EU, and after that you need permission. But you get 3 months without any questions asked. After 90 days, you need permission.
Mhm.
They said, "This must be a mistake. You guys are great candidates. Just work it out at the consulate in Berlin." Go to Berlin. Some woman, probably East Germany, whatever, from before the wall. She was like, "Hell no." And I didn't even understand what she's saying. We got this like preppy guy that was a friend of a friend to translate for us. Super nice guy, but she didn't like him. She didn't like us. I could just tell from her tone. She said no. Okay. So now we're effed, right? We have the house rented out. We don't want to go back to LA and rent for 6 months while we're
Right.
waiting 9 months. So we're like, where can we go? Right. And it was like, okay, we go to Spain, but Spain, you got to fly back to the US, go to their consulate, all 3 tickets, get permission, come back. Portugal was broke, and they were like, if you have $20 in the bank, basically, you can just apply from here and go. So we're like, all right, it's Portugal. So we went to Portugal, and it was so nice that we're like, let's go back, And so then we just haven't left it. It's been 5 years now. Yeah.
The only place I would take you, you stay
Oh, that's
there.
right. That's right. That's right.
That's great. Great
Uh,
story. Well,
uh,
you sound like you're enjoying it there. It's great. Everything works like for your job, that's for sure. And you can do SiriusXM. Let's go back to the way beginning. RotoNews.com was started. Now, you weren't one of the original owners, right? It was Peter and Jeff and Tim Schuler, and I think one more person.
it
No?
was it was Jeff, Peter, and Herb started Roto
Herb.
News in like '97,
Okay.
and they had this idea, and you know the story, but like basically when you were looking for fantasy information, I was playing like '96.
Yeah.
I was playing this ESPN game and I had a home league and like, I want to find out, who the guy was that I was used is Fernando Vina. He was the second baseman of the Brewers, as you know, and he was hurt. And, I'm looking at like USA Today or whatever the paper is that I would get. And I couldn't find any information on when this guy's going to come back. Right. And so you would go, there's a site, I don't know if you remember this, called Sports Pages. And it was a page and it had links to all the papers. It was just a page of links. And that thing was a huge advance because there wasn't Google or some crappy search engines, right? So you could just click and you'd get to like whoever, what the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel was like posting on Vina. And sometimes they had something that he wasn't a big enough star for like USA Today to have it. So that was okay. But then when Peter and Jeff and Herb did was they basically took all the local reporting from those papers and aggregated it on RotoNews and then put like a recommendation. And all of a sudden the traffic came flying in. They had millions and millions of users and, they sold to this crap company. But that crap company, Broadband, that was lucky for me because what happened for me is a friend of my brother's went to college with Herb and he knew I was into fantasy sports. He said, these guys have started this business. You should give them a call. And I had finished law school. I didn't want to do that. I was like, kind of, what the hell am I going to do? So I call Herb and he's like, talk to Jeff. Jeff's dealing with content. I'm the tech guy. So I call Jeff and Jeff's like, yeah, can you cover the Braves, the Cubs, and the Cardinals for us? This is like 98 or something, right? I said, yeah, no problem. It was $25 a team per month. Wasn't much money, but get your foot in the door, right? And so I'm freelancing for them for like a year and I'm doing a good job. And they're in Chicago and I'm in LA. But they sold to Broadband, which was a horrible deal for them, as you know, heard that story. But they had to move to LA as part of the deal and run RotoNews from LA, the offices. Well, I'm in LA already. So I get to meet them, hang out with them, play basketball with them, whatever. And then two of the guys who were working there get into a fist fight in the office and one of them quits, right? So they need a guy. They need a full-time guy. So they are like, oh, Liss is local. Let's bring him in. This is like 99, right? Yeah. And so Broadband hires me for $28,000 a year. That's what I got paid the first year. And then, of course, it goes out of business, because it was a whole .com bust. And then, Peter, Jeff, Herb, and then Schuler and me, Schuler was at Broadband. Yeah. We restart RotoWire in 2001. And that's the history of the company.
Wow. That's a new one. I didn't know all of that. And I didn't know about the fist fight that got you the job, too. So that's a good one. So, okay, let's just talk. You're a lawyer. Okay, you go to law school. Were you a licensed lawyer?
I passed the bar. Yeah, I got my license.
I mean, now you're working for $28,000 a year, which is pretty good for content, to be truly truthful. That's a pretty good salary for content.
It was pretty bad, but in LA. But it was really just sort of like, okay, I'm into this and I'm going to try this. And the first I remember they're like, do hockey updates, do college football updates. I was answering phones. Actually, we had Dindo Valencia was our customer service guy. But later when we were even like only a few of us even made it to the next phase when the .com bubble burst, we were all answering phones. Jeff, me, Pete, Herb. If someone called, it was like someone had to pick up the phone. Yeah. And we all did everything pretty much. Looking back on it, it was cool. I mean, it was a real startup. You don't know that you're in a startup. You're like, I just do this. Right. And suddenly like we just built this business, from almost nothing. So
Jeff is a lawyer too. Did he go all the way through and get his bar?
I think he passed the bar also. Yeah, I think he did.
Come on, guys, you should be rich and before more than famous. Rich.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I don't know because if you work for some white shoe New York law firm, probably would have got rich. Yeah. But we did all right. RotoWire, we did all right. And we liked it. And it was fun. We didn't burn out. We worked. It's just crazy. Like, my job's easy now, but in 2006, I was running basketball and football and doing all the projections for both and the draft kits for both, and it was just, and doing a ton of baseball. It was a lot of work, but, eventually we got big enough to have guys to manage stuff and it became more, sane.
That's a pure startup for sure. Okay, I got to tell you a story. I didn't think you were the one on this one. So I'm in labor, started in 1994, right? John Hunt started labor. 94, 95, we did it all on the phone. 96, 97, we do it live. In 98, somebody was leaving. It might have even been Ron Chandler, and we needed a new team in there. And John Hunt said, there's this new site called RotoNews, and it's really cool about player news. And I invited them. They're going to join us at the draft, labor. And so everyone's like, okay, I didn't know what RotoNews was. And so two guys join us at the draft. We're all at this restaurant, and two guys come in. One of them's Peter. I know it is. I can't remember the other one if it was Jeff, but they look like two 12-year-olds who were coming in,
Those dudes,
against
yeah.
with us men here, and like,
Yeah.
who's that little dweeb over there? And all I can remember is, "Oh, Mr. Hunt, it's an honor to meet you. Oh, Mr. Ambrosius, it's an honor to meet you." Like, who are these guys? And I don't know who the second one was. I got to find that out. I didn't know if it
Probably
was Jeff.
Jeff. It's probably
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah.
And they fit in real good, and we drank together that night, and all of a sudden it was great. But that was my first introduction to Roto News when they called me Mr. Ambrosius. If it was Jeff, he should continue to call me Mr. Ambrosius.
You are old. You do have the seniority. That is true.
Absolutely. I don't know how
deny.
he went from Mr. to Greg all the time, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so RotoNews.com, you guys were bought by Broadband. Is that 99 then that you were bought by Broadband?
Yeah, it was 99. I think they bought him. I mean, I was just freelancing when the deal went through. So I got hired by Broadband to work for Roto News.
And this is a kind of a venture capital group. They're going to put a bunch of media together. They hired you guys and such. They go belly up in the .com boom of 2000 or whatever. You guys are now on your own. They wouldn't even sell you RotoNews.com, the name, right?
Yeah, Peter offered him, I think, 25 grand for it. Yeah. And they were like, no, we can get $1 million in the bankruptcy court. So some bankruptcy creditor didn't get that extra 25 grand that they should have had out of Peter. Peter ended up buying it, just to like win like 4 years later for a couple grand or whatever. But we had to change the URL, and that's a big deal. People bookmark things. This is back then. I mean, that probably cost us half of our, and Roto World, who basically copied our name and did the same thing. And I told Peter like 2000, like, you got to, I was a lawyer. I was like, you got to sue those guys. He was like, I don't know. And it's Broadband. I don't know. They don't care about this, but that was kind of a big deal. And so they, had all, got so much of the traffic. And then also like we ended up going pay because we couldn't survive as a free site on advertising when the bust happened. Yeah. And so then we had even less traffic, we didn't even know if we'd survive, but yeah, I mean, it was a crazy thing once that happened. And, yeah, there's so much stuff with Broadband. Like, so they were trying to, the whole thing in the .com era was you need more revenue, show revenue growth. Doesn't matter if you're losing money. Right. If you show revenue growth, they're like, this will scale. Just like, Uber right now or whatever. They're like, oh, it's growing in revenue. So who cares if it's making money? So our customer service guy, Dindo, who was sitting across from me at our cubicle, he's on the phone with a puzzled look on his face. And he's saying something like, well, yeah, they're selling these Michael Jordan rookie cards for $750. Like, and the guy's like, I hear the guy go like, well, what's the problem? He's like, we're buying them for $900, and they're like, revenue. I mean, this is borderline fraud, right? You're showing more revenue because you're literally selling these things at a loss. So that was the era, that we were in, and it just didn't make it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So then Peter did start up RotoWire. Who came up with the name RotoWire.com?
It might have been Pete. It might have been us. I don't know. It was. Who knows? We didn't love it. We liked Roto News.
Roto News definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, we had to switch.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Peter eventually came to Madison, Wisconsin. You could have been a Badger here, and it worked out very good what he's doing there at the university. You get a lot of writers, obviously, journalism majors who are going to come on over and intern for you guys. How come you didn't come to Madison, Wisconsin, man?
That's another good story. So I was really mad at Pete. He's because he said, he was like, okay, we might move. And the first place we agreed to move was Portland, Oregon. And I have my best friend lives in Portland, Oregon. I was like, I'm in. I didn't care about LA at all. I was single. I was fine to go to Portland, Oregon. But I was dating this girl at the time. And I think I told her, like, I think I'm just going to go by myself. Like, it kind of ended the relationship because if she went with me, we probably would have had to get married because it would have, because she's moving all the way there and she had no reason to go there. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. So I think I'm just going to go. Well, 2 weeks later, he talks with his wife. He talks with, Herb and the other guys. They're all Midwesterners. They want to raise their kids in Madison. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I already it was bad, but it might've been for the best because, if I wasn't going to do it, I wasn't going to do it. And I have a kid now, so, but at the time I was pissed. And also like, I was like, what, I'm not going to move there. It's just a small town and I'm single and I'm living in LA. And he had one argument that and we argued and I said, it's just a mistake, we're splitting up the company. And he said, there'll be a lot of interns in Madison. It's a real sports town and there'll be a lot of interns. And, I don't like to take the L very often, as you know, but I had to take the L. Like, that was just a huge resource. Like, so many of these guys that are so high quality that have worked for us for 15 years, these were Madison kids. And, we had interns from UCLA, Pepperdine, whatever, but LA, these kids had to drive in traffic. Like, it was just hard to maintain them, keep them going. Yeah. But in Madison, they would walk, I don't know, half a mile or whatever from college to go and work. And it's been so valuable to the company. So he was right. It was a good move. And I stayed behind and, have been, remote basically since like 2005.
Yeah, well, admitting the L, that's good for you. I mean, that's a
I
step up
was
for you.
when the facts are against you, you gotta take it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Peter's not from Wisconsin. He's actually went from, is he Indiana, I think, and he lived in Minnesota.
Minnesota. I thought
Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
Minnesota.
got some Indiana
No,
connection. Maybe
Tori, his wife is from
his
Indiana.
wife is, okay, yeah. So he's from Minnesota. He's a Vikings fan, of course, and such. But he knew that Madison was a good resource. He's almost on campus. He's just a little bit off campus. I visited down there many times, so it was a good one. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit then. So let's talk about SiriusXM, because how did you guys get involved right away? And that would have been like 2010. And how has that grown with your job and you and Jeff and everything?
So, we were on XM in like 2005, and I got fired because I had Joe Sheehan on. And so these guys were total tools, these XM producers, right? And I can't remember the guy's name, but I remember thinking, I'm going to get that guy. That fucker fired me, I can curse on your podcast, right?
That's fine.
And I was so pissed, and I was like, these two guys, total tools. And they would always be like, you guys are boring. You're not enough personality. Everything's so nerdy, so fine. Okay, fine. That's fair. So, I had Joe Sheehan on and we made a bet about like Andrew Jones hitting home runs or something like that back in the day. And my immediate producer was like, betting is not allowed. You can't bet on this thing. They were so angry, and I kind of like chewed him out. I was like, dude, get out of my face. They're bitching about us like being boring and not, doing anything. And we had a fun bet, and so because I like chewed him out, then they brought me to the other guys and they fired me. So only Jeff had the show, right? But then this is like, so that's like 2005. But I was bummed because it was like a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And then in like 2007. They were like, okay, we'll give him his show. And it was like this night show that nobody listened to. But I had a great producer. And so we did this night show for a while. And then that lasted a couple years. But then Sirius bought them. And when Sirius bought them, we sort of pitched to Sirius, Steve Cohen, and they weren't interested. They were like, we're not interested in fantasy sports show, whatever. So they said no. So we're like, okay. So we lost the show. But then like a year or two later, they came back to us and said, okay, I think we are going to launch this. You guys still interested? And we're like, of course. So we were like the flagship show. So in March of 2010, Jeff and I go to New York and we look like babies. I have a picture of Jeff and I in the studio. We're like, oh, it's cool. We're in the fancy Manhattan studio.
Yeah, right.
And that was 12 years ago. So we've been doing the show since.
Wow, that's a good story too. So you enjoy it. I mean, it's now a major part of your work day, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the biggest thing we do. We get a lot of subscribers from it. It's just we're known for it. They don't know. They don't tell us, as like your audience. So it's a little frustrating. We don't know exactly. Right. I would guess a couple 100,000 people in August at least. I would think. I mean, the calls are like we just get 1 million of them when we do our stupid segments, like chances to win and all that. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it's it's just Jeff and I like working with Jeff. I like the other guys too, but we just have this rapport where, how Jeff is like the straight man and I'm like the guy who's always clowning and he's, but it's good. He knows he gets it. He gets the joke and we've got a good, it's a fun, partnership.
All right. We're going to get to high stakes, but just one last thing. So you guys were just bought by gambling.com for $27.5 million. And congratulations, you guys. Again, you earn it. You worked hard. It's great. Things are changing in this space. We know it changes all the time, but this is a good change. Legalized sports gambling in Wisconsin. Listen, I went to the Packer game. Wisconsin's got one place that you can gamble. It's at the United Casino in Green Bay. Walked in, smooth as could be. It was so much fun to have skin in the game all weekend long. Every state should do it in America. I'm sorry, but just get it done here. So, but it's a great time right now in the space. So you're 50 years old. Okay, you guys are rich now. It paid off. What's up? What's the future with you here?
So, I mean, I'll say this on your show. I'm going to say it, it's not a secret, but I'm leaving. I'm leaving RotoWire. I love RotoWire. I love those guys. I'm going to write something out, more formally, but I really appreciate them. And I was just lucky. I mean, if you had the story, it was kind of like luck. I mean, I worked hard, but I was treated incredibly fairly, generously to a fault in terms of, my ownership and, just being recognized for what I was doing and letting me do my thing and, just letting me be myself basically. And the deal was great. Everybody, I feel like they got what they wanted. So I'm just happy with it. And I just couldn't be luckier to have five guys who, I've known for, 5 guys who we got into our spats. We got into arguments. I was pissed at Pete when he moved to Wisconsin. We've been in arguments, different of us have argued, but nobody was ever dishonest. Nobody took a penny more than they were owed. Nobody was, unethical. It was an incredibly lucky run for that long. It's just very rare to have 4 people and, business, Greg,
Right.
Shit happens, right? People get ugly. Things get ugly sometimes. It can be nasty, but there was just really none of that. Even if there was a heated disagreement, nobody was ever, unethical or did anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I just felt like, you see me on Twitter, you don't always agree with everything I say. I know. But I have other things on my mind and other thoughts, and I just wanted to do it, and it was just a great time because we got the payout, and I would no longer own my own company, and I was just like, okay, I'm 50, and I live in Portugal, and Heather got it. Her job is good now, and I'm just like, it's time to just do my own thing, and so the timing was good, but I still think they're going to run the site, exactly how it was.
Right.
And I may be involved or in some way. We're going to talk about that. We haven't even crossed that bridge. I'm here to the end of the Super Bowl. So yeah, that's just where we're at.
So you don't have any plans concrete right now?
Well, no, I have a website I'm building right now.
Okay.
I have websites and stuff, and just do my own thing.
Cool.
But I'm not even sure exactly, what is exactly the sports non-sports balance or any of that. I'm just, I'm just doing it.
Well, and it's a good time to be free. Brad Evans is getting more into gambling. There's opportunities out there, fantasy gambling, political, all kinds of things. So I wish you the best, Chris. I really do. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Pete. I'm happy for all those guys. I have a feeling you'll still be involved a little bit here. I think they can work that in. Okay, let's get the high stakes and talk about your involvement. Now, the thing I love about you and Jeff is you have embraced high stakes. You see this as a big part of the industry right now. And you're not afraid to put your reputations on the line. You guys play, and if you get your asses kicked, you acknowledge it and such like that. Talk about the high stakes and why you guys really have embraced this.
Well, I love the game, right? So I thought, I don't know, I don't know. You're not splitting the atom there, Greg, but somehow you are when it comes to these games. You just have come up with the best game. You really have. I don't know how you do it, but that 15-team format, the 12-team format, the just the software is excellent. I'm not trying to do an infomercial for you. You're not paying me. I don't give a shit. But it's just really good. It's just that you guys have a great product, and it's sort of like, well, you could advertise on our show, right? You could pay some money and advertise on our show, but you're smart. You gave us some entries and then we got hooked on it. And then then we're obsessed with it. So we just talk about it all the time. And that's 100 times better for you. But it's good for us because we're getting an entry and we're talking about what we like to talk about. And that's one of the things, my whole life, as you said, we could have been a lawyer, but I want to talk about what I want to talk about. And it's also why I'm going to do something else now a little bit, because I want to talk about what I'm interested in, right? And one of the things we're interested was your contests. And I love that the best players in the world are in these contests. I love that, if I'm going to win my league and Phil Dussault's in it or Casey Chow or one of these guys who's won a ridiculous amount, great. I want to beat those guys because that's a real win, right? It's not a big deal to beat a bunch of, even my home leagues got tougher. People got experience. I'm not like minimizing that. People who've done this for years are usually pretty savvy, but you're now beating like serious people if you win these leagues. Yep. And it's a great challenge. I've been in leagues with Lindy. I've been in leagues with Phil. I've been in leagues with him. It's just, it makes it more fun. I'd rather, play with the best guys in the world. And, people think, oh, it's the pundits, the XM people, the guys who are on ESPN or whatever. They're good players. I'm not saying they're not. But the best players in the world are the guys who dominate the NFFC and NFBC. Those are the best players in the world. And by and large, they're not industry people. And if you are an industry person, you're going to lose a lot of the time to them. And you got to say, well, okay, I lost, but I believe I can beat them. I can, draft a better team next year, and you do it. And it's just a good challenge. So, I love it.
Yeah, I can't compete against my guys. I know that. You have done better than I ever would for sure, because they're just too intense, especially in baseball. Those guys are all in, and it's fantastic. I want to talk about Phil Dussault because we had him on our first podcast. He won $324,000 last year, Chris. He was in 22 leagues. He won 17 league titles. He cashed in all 22. It's unreal. He started in the NFBC in 2017, so he's only been playing 5 years. And he started because he kept hearing you and Chris or you and Jeff talk about it on SiriusXM.
Created a monster.
He came to New York in 2019 because he wanted to be in a league with you, and he was in the auction and the main event. That's unreal. And first of all, thanks. I mean, that's again how you spread the word. And a guy like him comes and he even travels because he wants to meet you and stuff. I mean, it's a bit of an honor for you, don't you think?
It was great. I didn't know actually that he wanted to meet me. I remember him in the league because
Yep.
it was the live New York league, and we talked a lot of shit. It was a lot of talk. Masato was there; he's always talking. And we're all talking and having a good time. I love the live events, yeah, we created a monster. I mean, now this guy's taking all your money. Well, you were gonna give away the money anyway. It's everybody else's money. It was everybody else's money that he's taking, but good for him. And it's just really like, I know we have a lot of prestige leagues, like Labor and Town, and those are great leagues and they're fun, and I've enjoyed them. But the money talks. I mean, the prize money is where you're going to draw out the people who. They're this is money they've earned. This is money that,
Right.
It's theirs, and this is where they're choosing to put it. And there's a negative if you do a bad job, if you're lazy, if you miss a fab deadline. So if you're dogmatic, if you're stuck on your system or your guys or whatever you do, you pay a price, right? I draft Byron Buxton every year and he's hurting. I pay a price, I don't win the league. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you have had success in our leagues. In fact, I think it's 2015. You finished 12th overall. We only paid the top 11 that year, just so you know. But
I know.
Football here. Last year in football, you made the championship round in the primetime. You won the primetime, $7,000, and the RotoWire you finished second and won as well and got the championship. So you've had success in this, but you've also had some beatdowns, right?
I've had some bad years. I didn't have a good baseball year this year. 2019, I had a great baseball year. I ended up tying for second in my main. Yep. That was the Phil Dussault League. And then I finished 12th, I think, in the online out of 3,000 teams or something. And so that was a good team. But, I've had some bad teams. Like 2021 was a terrible baseball year for me. And you think, oh, well, but it is depressing. I do care. I care. It makes me unhappy when I have a bad year. I don't easily shrug it off. And I don't, whatever it is, whatever mistakes I made. I had Gleyber Torres everywhere, and he was just so bad. And Gavin Lux. I like to go all in on certain guys, even if they're not like my favorite guy, because it's the guy you can get where you're drafting, or push him up a bit. Because if that guy does pop, and they could pop, it's just they didn't. Then it's like DFS. You have this huge edge across the board, and then you're going to see which ones built around them do really well. But of course, when it goes the other way, it's tough.
I had Gleyber Torres last year too. I thought he was such a bargain at the end of the 5th round, like 75th pick. He had just gone like 33rd the year before. It was unreal. So I got to ask you, why don't more industry guys play in the high stakes? Don't you think?
Well, one, they don't get paid a lot, right? Like we owned RotoWire. I mean, we also traded, we bartered the entries for sort of the promotion. So that's fine. But we also could afford to pay it too. A lot of these guys don't make that much money. I mean, fantasy, it's like working in Hollywood or working in DC. It's like if it's something that people want to work in, they don't pay them very well. So that's one thing. Two, I don't think they're scared. I think, I don't know. I would think even most experts, nerdy experts, whatever, they want to test their, I would think, I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. They got their spreadsheet with all their tweaks and everything, I would, if I were them, I would want to test that spreadsheet against the best players in the world and see, is this bullshit or do I have something, because that's the only way to test it. I mean, you can, I've got a million parameters and I've adjusted for, temperature and distance, home run distance and all the stuff. Yeah. Okay. We'll go draft against, Phil Dussault and Casey Cha and Lindy. And maybe you do have something great and you'll beat them, there's more to it than just projecting. There's a lot going on. So I think it's just expensive for them. But again, it's not that expensive. I mean, $1,700 if this is what you're great at and this is what your spreadsheet is all about. I mean, come on. You're not investing like split it with your brother, split it with a family member or something, get an investor. I mean, Jesus, you got
I mean, there's guys that are in Tout Wars that are very good players, obviously in Labor as well, but a lot of them don't get into NFBC, and I'm not pitching for it. I think people are worried about their reputations more. They can win money here. If their formula is great, it's great anywhere in any league. I want to talk 15-team leagues. I know you love the format in baseball. We do have 12 teams, so you like 15 better than 12. And should we add any reserve spots, huh?
I like them both. I like the 12 and the 15. I don't know if I'm going to do this year. like I'll say, I don't want to even, I've been an infomercial. I'm going to say something negative. It's not about your contest, but in general about baseball is I don't mind the work. Like, and I think most people who are into this, they love researching minor leaguers and baseball players. I mean, it's part, it's a pain in the ass. And the level's gotten so high of these guys that you can't mail it in. You've got to know each organization. You got to know which minor leaguers are coming up. And the thing is, I don't even mind that part of it because that, I like researching baseball. Why did I get into this in the first place? What I don't like is it's an appointment on Sunday night, and especially when I'm in LA in the summer, which I have been, it's like I'm in a barbecue or I'm about to have dinner and I'm like, shit, I got to spend 3 hours, and like, I don't want to deal with this. If I can just do it at my leisure. And I know some of the guys like do it a little bit each, during the week, they get it ready, but you got to like see what's happening in the latest games and, sort of update it. So that's the only negative for me is just that work that I have to do. And you can't fake it. You just can't. You can't mail it in. But I love both formats. I don't think you need more bench spots. I like that it's hard. People think, it'll be easier. Well, if it's easier, then you'll have fewer guys on free agency available. Secondly, it's easier for you. It's easier for everybody. So it's not easier for you. Right? What are you thinking? It's just it's not like I get more bench spots than nobody else does. We all would. I think your game, and I don't know how you did this, but you calibrated it to the point where it's like, I don't know how to optimize it much further. I don't really have any complaints. I like the 2 periods for the hitters, the 1 for the pitcher. That erases like this crazy streaming that would have happened. Same time, it mitigates a little bit of the luck. If a hitter gets hurt on Monday, you can put a new guy in. I don't know how you tweaked it so well, but I don't really have a lot of suggestions to improve it.
Well, it's like the startup you talked about. This is all progress, a little by little. We started out with only 6 bench spots the first year, added a 7th bench spot. We didn't have that, the software that we have right now. We didn't add hitters during the week before. So it's been just a process, and it's a great game right now. I agree with you. Are you coming to New York with Tout Wars then at all or not? Are you not doing Tout Wars?
I'm out of tout. And I don't think I'm coming to New York in March. The question is, do I come to LA in the summer? But that's not really for the NFL because I would be going before September for the NFFC anyway, but maybe, I don't know. I got to talk to Heather about all the whole travel schedule.
We're in Las Vegas over Labor Day weekend, but that's big news that you're not going to be in New York for Tout, though, because you've been in Tout and you've won several Tout titles as well. Okay. We can't leave this without you talking about Mike the Mouth. So he's been fun to trash talk with, and you guys have had side bets and stuff. Have you had him on your show as well, I assume?
I've had him on the show a couple times, not as many times as he asked me to put him on, but I do put him on
every day
occasionally. I'll say Mike, he's a pain in the ass. He talks a lot of shit. He can be annoying. But he's a good guy, and he always pays. I pay him too. He won this year. I think he was embarrassed to take my money because I think I was like 14th and he was 13th or something terrible. So, but he did win because we had a bet. And so, the next day he'll talk shit all year, but the next day if he loses, the day after the season, you'll get your money. So I always respect that, somebody who pays. And unfortunately, after taking his money for a bunch of years, last year I had to pay. So. So I won't say anything too nasty about the guy, but he's all right. He definitely talks more than he delivers, but he's a good guy.
I like it. Talk a little bit about the difference between high stakes fantasy football and baseball. I mean, it's like a marathon compared to a sprint, I know, but just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the football is easy, right? I mean, it's just like the fab is easy. It takes me 2 minutes. It's like really easy for me, and obviously your contest is different because, usually here's one thing I like about the football is I won my league. I won the $7,000. Okay. So that was banked, right? I couldn't have the best team and lose in round 1 of the playoffs and win nothing. Right. That's it. So now it's really hard to win, the whole thing. And I was drawing dead like the first week, even though I had a ridiculous team, I was pretty much drawing dead. I was like, okay, it's over. And that's really hard, but that didn't take away the $7,000. So I got my win, which was nice. And then I'm in the pool for the $200,000. And, most people are not going to, it's going to be one guy's going to win. A few other guys are going to get paid and that's it. So I sort of like that. Normally it's easy to make the playoffs. 6 teams make it. But it's easy to get knocked out. Here it's hard to make the playoffs, but you earn something for doing it. So I like that. I don't know. Football's fun. I had a good year this year. So whenever you have a good year, it's always fun. And baseball's a grind. I love drafting baseball more than any of them, though. I love constructing the team. And I might have to like hire somebody to like do my fab for me or something, because I would draft 20 teams. I'm fine with doing 20 drafts. I just can't do the homework once it's done, So.
Well, we're getting you in some Beat Chris online championship leagues this year. You've got to do at least one or two of those.
Yeah.
People
do
love competing against. All right.
Yeah.
Talking about baseball, what's the worst category to try to fill? Is it like saves? Is that the killer? Is it the stolen bases nowadays? Is it the strikeouts? What's for you?
Yeah, so I always fade the scarce categories. And by the way, as I said, I had a bad year last year. So you take this, listen to Phil Dussault on the last one. But I'll just give you my philosophy anyway. Having a bad year never stopped me from giving my opinion, by the way. So I like to fade what everyone's chasing, right? So they're taking Hader and Hendricks in the third or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll never say never because I don't want to make a stance and then deprive myself if I think it's the best pick at the time. But my bias is fade the catcher, fade the closer, fade the steals, and pick those up on the cheap and be really strong where there's a lot of things. Like if there's a lot of home runs or there's a lot of strikeouts, get a lot of that. But everything's scarce. Starting pitchers don't go past the fifth inning anymore. Wins are scarce. Saves are scarce. Pitchers who pitch more than 150 innings are scarce. There was a bit of a down in power year. Is power going to get scarce? So everything's scarce now. So then nothing's scarce. Mm-hmm. But in general, I like to actually get the categories that you need a lot of, and gamble more on the ones you need a little of, and hope to get lucky there.
Well, you are a gambler. Let's talk about your team of destiny, because that just attracted everyone, including me. I was rooting for the teams you had there. Talk a little bit about the super contest and just the thrill of going that far, if you will.
It was sick. I mean, so it was actually Peter. We were in Vegas for the trip this summer, and Dalton and I signed up for the super contest, which is the handicapping one. Yep. And we went down there. We got this proxy because you need some local to actually make the picks for you. Mm-hmm. And there's Peter's like, yeah, there's this Survivor one, or we knew about it. And he's like, you going to go down there? I'm like, I don't know. It's in the morning. I got to go because I'm catching a plane. He's like, it'd be great content for the fun. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. So I dragged my ass down there, which is not like me. And I did it. And I put down the money. I split it with Dalton. It's $1,000, 500 each. And, the first week we had the Bucks hosting the Cowboys, and we won a last-second field goal. We barely made it. Week 3 we had the Ravens and the miracle. It wasn't just the Tucker kick off the crossbar, which took an hour to come down. It was the Lamar Jackson 4th and 19 after he got sacked 3 times and he made this pass. It was the non-called delay of game, which would have taken him to a 71-yard field goal. So all these things happen. We win, and we're talking about team of destiny. We won. Patriots are down 22-7 with Mac Jones against the Texans, and they came back and won 22-9. They came back and won 25-22. Everything happened our way, and we just kept winning. And then it was like 1 week, the Cowboys were by far the biggest favorite. We had them available. They were 10-point favorites. And we were like, we have a bad vibe on it. So what are we going to take? Dalton's like, the Saints. I'm like, I don't know. Let's take the Dolphins. He's like, I think Tua's hurt. I think Jacoby Brissett's going to play. I'm like, Tua will play. Don't worry. We put in the Dolphins. The next day, Tua's scratched. The line goes down to 4. We leave a 10-point favorite on the table. Dallas loses to Denver, gets killed. The Saints lose on the last second, and the Dolphins win. Okay? And that Dolphin-Texans game was an epic game. We won with the Bears on Thanksgiving on the last second field goal, literally the last play of the game. We had to pick a second game that week, Atlanta in Jacksonville. We took the Falcons on the road. They won. It was the team of destiny. We were dodging bullets. It was incredible how many bigger favorites we avoided, but we got bid in week 15, and and it was tough. It was really tough. And I'll tell you, though, what made me feel better was that 5 guys ended up splitting it at the end. So instead of 6, it was 1.2. So if we had made it, it would have been 6 of us, been $1 million. Split in half is $500K. After taxes, $300K. Hey, $300K, it's decent money, but it's not life-changing money. It's good money. So I it wasn't like we lost $6 million, $3 million. I was like, I'm getting a private jet. I'm going to fly to Vegas to pick it up. I'm going to pick you up, and then I'm going to buy some property, somewhere. I had a whole plan, in my head. So
yeah. Well, Peter was right. That was good content. That's for sure. You should expense that. Definitely expense that.
I'm going to expense it. Yeah, for sure.
Because it was great content. Everybody was following you and everything. That was a team of destiny, no doubt about it. All right. Any advice for anybody who's interested in joining the NFBC, NFFC? You're young out there. You're hearing about Phil and people who have been playing this for 18 years. I can't get in. I can't compete. What do you say to those people?
Well, you probably won't ever in your lifetime have the year that Phil had, and many lifetimes. That may be, the Nolan Ryan of strikeouts or something like that. But it's a great contest. And if you are serious, if you think that you're good at this, that you know baseball, that you understand who's going to be good, that's how I got to do it. I just felt like I was better than my friends at saying who's going to be the MVP, who's going to have a good year. That's how you get into fantasy sports. When you're coming up, you have opinions, you want to test them. If you're serious about it, this is the best testing ground, because you're going against everybody else who's studying and having opinions and having their take, and it's really just fun. But don't maybe go into the online the first year, and then, or one of the smaller draft champions, and then get the format. It took me 2 years, even though I was a good player, I thought, in 2012 or 13, whenever I started, but I got destroyed because I was like, it's rookies and bench guys. I was like, no, you can't do that. You get one guy you can put who's a prospect or an injured guy at the start of the season, but that's it. And you may have to drop him. You've got to understand the format, and I could explain it to you, or you can listen to Jeff and me talk about it, but playing is the only way to really, really understand it.
Yeah.
And so, that first year, expect not to do great. But you'll still be fun, and maybe you'll do well. You never know. And then you'll start to understand how it works and develop a good strategy, and try to take down Phil Dussault, try to take down these legendary guys, and maybe you will. I mean, anyone can win the league if they have a good year and they apply themselves. So
absolutely. Well, thanks, Chris. It's great talking to you. And you're a good friend in the industry. I've known you 2 decades here, and we've had a lot of good times, and we are going to continue to have a lot of good times. I guarantee it. We will stay in touch. I wish you all the best. And I hope we hook up one of these days again. We got to get together physically, because you owe me a lot of beers, and you have more money now than you did in 2019. So you're buying, all right?
As many as you can drink, Greg. Whatever you can tolerate.
I used to be able to drink a lot. I can't do much anymore.
You got to drink them in one sitting.
I'm too old. I have to pee all the time, so I can't drink too much. So
whatever you can finish in one sitting, that's the limit. So
all right, sounds good. Chris, best to you and your family, and we'll stay in touch. Okay, man?
Yeah, thanks. Great talking to you, Greg.
All right, thanks. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.